Hi, dear friends. Welcome back to Literary Flow, a channel that shares knowledge for all-round self-development through great books. If you are still being controlled by emotions such as sadness, jealousy, fear, and anger, to the point that your mood keeps sinking and you do not know how to face them, if you are still making many mistakes and feeling regret for having said hurtful things in moments of anger, then today's book will be a good choice for you. This is the book I would tentatively translate as The Force of Emotions, Love, Anger, Joy. The thinker and philosopher Wang Yang once said, "It is easy to defeat bandits in the mountains, but difficult to defeat the bandits in the mind." This saying is often rendered that way in English. The bandits in the mind, in the end, are the 7 emotions and 6 desires. In Buddhist teaching, the 7 emotions are 7 different shades of human feeling, while the 6 desires refer to 6 worldly cravings. This book is about the 7 emotions of humankind. It analyzes 7 kinds of emotions that have accompanied us from birth until now. Emotions are a stream of energy flowing within us. If you can live in peace with them, you can more easily take charge of your own life. By understanding emotions clearly, you can interpret your feelings better, understand the feelings of others, while still protecting your own, and from there turn emotions into strength so that you can face life in a more positive way. The author of this book is the well-known psychiatrist François Lelord, who practiced in France and the United States. He is also the author of the globally best-selling psychological self-healing book, Hector and the Search for Happiness, another of his very famous works. The book I am introducing today is co-authored by the French psychologist and psychiatrist Christophe André. All right, now let us explore what these 7 emotions are. Part 1. Is staying calm in the face of every disturbance really such a wonderful thing? The author says that if there were a medicine called summer, a drug that could keep you calm in every situation, then no matter what trouble you ran into, your outward appearance would remain unchanged, and you would be able to respond with a heart as still as flat water. You would not be easily shaken by worldly emotions. Wouldn't that be exactly the kind of medicine that helps us achieve the goal of cultivating inner peace and calmness? So, would you want to buy this pill? But the author also adds that before deciding, you need to understand its side effects clearly. First, without the influence of emotions, you would become indifferent to life. Second, because emotions would no longer disturb you, you would no longer feel hurt, and this could lead to dangerous behavior toward yourself and others. Third, your memory would decline and your judgment would weaken. Fourth, you would have difficulty and obstacles in connecting with other people. At this point, would you still want to take this pill? You can see that emotions bring us a great deal of suffering, but on the other hand, they also give life more flavor and allow us to build deep connections with others. In reality, emotions are a source of motivation that helps us respond to the world, and they are also the most primal energy within us. You need to understand and manage your own emotions in order to make use of their power. First of all, we need a broad and basic view of emotions. Emotions consist of 3 main parts: physiology, cognition, and behavior. They are moving energy, shifting from stillness to agitation, causing the body to produce physiological responses such as increased blood pressure, a faster heartbeat, and rapid breathing. After that, emotions affect the way you think. When you are angry, your view may narrow, and you focus only on what is making you angry. When you are sad, you may become trapped in whatever is making you sad and begin to think negatively. Finally, emotions make you react and act. Now we will go into each detail, each of the most basic emotions. First, the emotion that perhaps troubles many people every day. You may notice that quite a few people, when they get angry, explode and behave in ways such as smashing things, slamming doors, or even becoming aggressive toward others. But on the other hand, there are also people who, when angry, choose to swallow that anger inward and do not show it outwardly. However, when facing anger, both outburst and suppression are mistakes. The right thing to do is to face it directly, understand it clearly, and then resolve it. But in order to understand it, we need to know why we ourselves are angry. The causes of anger may seem complicated, but they can be summed up as follows. First, you are angry because you do not want something to happen. Second, someone may have deliberately done something to you. Third, what makes you angry goes against your values. And finally, one especially important factor, you are angry because you know you can control the situation, and you allow yourself to be angry. For example, if you were walking in a forest and suddenly came across a tiger, could you get angry? Of course not. Most people would be terrified because they know they cannot control the situation. But Van Tong would be different. He could face that situation with a kind of forceful anger because he believed he could handle it. Think about it. Many times when you get angry and yell at someone, the main reason is that you know you can control that person. No matter how harsh your words are, you believe that person will not leave you or do anything to you. But remember this, no one is incapable of leaving you, including the people closest to you, or even your most loyal employees. Remember, the people who allow you to be angry are either the ones who truly love you or the ones who are afraid of you. As long as fear exists, the other person will never be truly sincere, open, or wholehearted with you. Is that the kind of relationship you want for life? The solution here is to look back at yourself. The author gives the following methods to help you deal with anger. First, you need to learn how to have a dialogue with yourself, to question the deep-rooted beliefs inside you. What belief is it that makes you think others must act the way you want? And is that belief really completely reasonable? Second, once you understand why you are angry, try to reduce the factors that trigger that anger. For example, if there is someone at work who always makes things difficult for you and irritates you, then instead of merely stewing in resentment and focusing on the flaws in their point of view, it is better to find ways to improve the situation, change yourself where necessary, and remove the factors that make you upset. To do this well, you next need to learn how to think from another person's point of view. According to Buddhism, all anger comes from an inflated ego, meaning, I feel that I am very important, that my attitude, my values, and my self-respect matter most. When you feel yourself to be especially important, many things will immediately start to make you angry. But when you can place yourself in another person's position, understand why they think that way, and ask yourself whether you really need to be that angry, you will begin to master your anger. The fourth point is this: do not make it personal. In other words, when the first sparks of anger appear, pay attention only to the other person's behavior. Do not try to label who they are as a person. For example, instead of saying, "Why do you do everything so badly?" a better way to express anger without attacking the person is, "What you did here was not right." Fifth, think carefully before expressing it. When you are angry, do not immediately say it out loud. Send the text, or post your feelings on social media, and so on. Give yourself time to cool down. On the other hand, do not casually agree to everything either when you are feeling especially happy. The sixth point is to give the other person some time to explain themselves. It may be that they did not mean it, and it may not actually have crossed the line that you think it did. The seventh point is, walk away. If you cannot control your anger, the best thing to do is to turn around and leave. For example, when you are furious with your child, you can say, "Mom needs to calm down right now. Let me rest for a while." Then go outside or sit in another room for a bit. This is also a very effective way to control anger. And the final way to manage anger is to learn to let go, not to cling too tightly to every attachment and fixed idea. Truly, when you look back, you will see that nothing is impossible to get through, and nothing is that enormous. When you are able to accept what happens, anger naturally begins to subside. At the same time, there is another issue here that is just as important. Many people actually lack anger, meaning that they suppress it too much. I should always be able to control my emotions. Otherwise, people will see me as immature. I must never hurt anyone, or I will feel guilty. In truth, these are beliefs that others have planted in your mind since childhood. They keep you from expressing anger, but they can also lead to discouragement and emotional exhaustion. Just like the book Truth Work, which I once shared, says, if you do not have a way to express your anger, it can lead to serious psychological problems, even physical illness. So instead of saying, I must always control my emotions, or I can only be angry when I know I am 100% right, it is better to think, it is reasonable to be angry when I am right, but I also have the right to make mistakes. So I should not be too harsh with myself. Or instead of saying, I need to seem friendly, otherwise people will not accept me, affirm to yourself, I hope people will accept me, but I do not need everyone to like me. All right, those are some reflections on the first emotion, anger. The next emotion is jealousy. In fact, there is no standard outward sign of jealousy, because it is rare that you can look at someone's face and know for sure that they are jealous. Jealousy is an inward drama, a feeling of being torn inside. For example, when you visit a friend of your own age, you see that the two of you came from similar circumstances, and in the past, they may even have studied worse than you, but now they have a beautiful house and a prosperous family life. Outwardly, you look calm, but inside your heart is stirred and begins to feel heavy. Some people think they are being envious, but in fact, this is jealousy. Envy is different. In psychology, jealousy is directed toward the happiness and material possessions of others. Envy, by contrast, appears when something you want to keep as your own seems to be at risk of being taken away by someone else. I will explain envy more clearly later. According to this book, people usually experience 3 kinds of jealousy. The first is depressive jealousy. People with this type of jealousy, when they see others doing better than themselves, often think, something good like that will never happen to me, or I'm just unlucky. These feelings can push you into a state of wanting to withdraw. The second is hostile jealousy. A typical expression of this type is, someone like them can do that? A person with this kind of jealousy believes no one should be better than them, so they start finding faults, bad-mouthing the other person, or trying to make them look worse in the eyes of others. The third is admiring jealousy. He really is very capable, so it makes sense that he got promoted. I'm going to work harder too. This third type is a relatively healthy kind of jealousy. So there is good jealousy and bad jealousy. If the feeling is healthy, it can motivate you to improve. But if it is unhealthy, it may lead you to hurt others. Jealousy can become fuel for progress, but it still needs to be managed, especially depressive and hostile jealousy. If jealousy makes you miserable and drains your spirit, then you need to look at it again and manage it. So how do we manage it? The first step is to honestly admit your jealousy. For example, the house you bought is exactly the kind of house I've always dreamed of. Living in a home like this must feel wonderful. I'm really jealous of you. The moment you say that out loud, you may feel much lighter, and so may the other person. The second step is to express jealousy positively. Feeling genuinely happy for someone from the bottom of your heart is a high-energy way of expressing emotion. For example, I know buying a house is not easy at all. This really shows how much effort you've put in over the past few years. I'm truly happy for you. The third step is to examine whether you are secretly thinking of yourself as inferior. Thoughts such as, my friend is so capable, but what about me? Am I moving forward or backward right now? And so on. People who think this way always want to show their best side to others. But you need to understand that this is exactly what creates unnecessary jealousy within you. Or, on the contrary, check whether you are carrying thoughts of superiority. If your ego is too strong, you will feel that you must be better than others. But when reality does not match that belief, then of course you will end up making yourself suffer through jealousy. If such thoughts are still there, then you need to go to the fourth step: weaken the other person's superiority in your own eyes. That superiority is often something your jealous ego has exaggerated. The author believes there is truly nothing in this world worth being jealous of. If there is one thing worth envying, it is only this one virtue: the ability to create happiness for oneself. For example, a man repairing bicycles by the roadside and doing it with genuine joy, feeling happy while he works, or someone who can devote themselves to their work and help others. Those are the people worth envying. I hope we can turn jealousy into motivation to work on ourselves, rather than comparing ourselves with others. Next comes the emotion of joy and happiness. There is a smile called the Duchenne smile, discovered by the French doctor Duchenne. Do you know that this is the smile of someone who is truly happy and radiant? It is the smile in which the muscles around the eyes naturally contract. Look back and see how many times in a day you smile like that naturally. Joy and happiness are the emotions that have the greatest influence on our lives out of all our feelings. Why can we say that? First, joy makes people more generous. This has been demonstrated through experiments, not just claimed in theory. A psychologist asked a group of people to take part in a psychological experiment. After the experiment, they walked outside and saw a beggar near the door. He found that if these people had felt interested and cheerful during the experiment, they were more likely to give money to the beggar. So, does happiness make people generous, or does generosity make people happy? In this case, the two reinforce each other. So be generous, give more, and deep joy will surely come to you. Second, joy also makes people more creative and able to make better decisions. Not faster decisions, but better quality decisions. Joy also helps you be brave while remaining cautious. We often say that too much happiness can make people reckless, meaning that when people are too happy, they behave wildly and take risks. But that is not joy. It is more like pleasure or excitement. Truly joyful people still dare to act, but they act with greater care. Joyful people do not like boring work. They prefer tasks that are interesting and challenging. So be willing to take on harder work than others at your workplace. This is also one way of becoming happier in your work and giving yourself more chances to grow. One point worth noting here is that the author divides human happiness into 4 states based on 2 dimensions. Let us see what kind of happiness you may be seeking. The first is excited joy that comes from outside. You can think of this as delight. For example, when we were in primary or secondary school and won the title of excellent student, or when we won a competition, and so on. This kind of happiness is very common in teenagers. The second is excited joy that comes from within. This is a kind of Aristotelian happiness. It is the sense of fulfillment that comes when your life purpose is realized, when you dedicate yourself to meaningful work and finally achieve it, and through that process improve yourself. The third is calm happiness that comes from outside. This is contentment. For example, you and your partner sit in the garden, sip tea, and watch your children playing around you. This form of happiness makes you smile quietly with deep satisfaction. The fourth is calm happiness that comes from within. This is serenity. When we understand the meaning of our lives and realize that life is naturally this way, that everything is impermanent, then we can live calmly and enjoy the process of experience itself. These are 4 different kinds of happiness. Importantly, they are not ranked above or below one another. Each kind of happiness carries high energy in its own way. So, what do we need to do to improve our happiness? First, ask yourself what kind of happiness your ideal happiness is closest to. What would make you happier right now? What has been your happiest moment? What happy moment have you missed? Does what would make you happier depend on you? Keep asking yourself questions like these to help guide yourself in the right direction. But you also need to pay special attention to what happiness does and does not depend on. Happiness does not primarily depend on money or age. We are always afraid of aging and think getting old is a terrible thing. But in reality, people often become happier as they grow older. No research has conclusively shown that young people are happier than older people. Older people can calmly say to the young, "Everything passes. You should be happy that you are young and still have so many possibilities ahead." But young people usually do not think like that. Life's troubles hurt them deeply, and every blow feels magnified beyond measure. So what does happiness actually depend on? If you want to be happy, you need health. Even a small illness can immediately reduce your sense of happiness. Happiness also depends on your personality. Are you someone who can easily notice joy and create happiness? Happiness also depends on the quality of your marriage and your relationships. Be careful and choose wisely before deciding to marry someone. Happiness also depends on your beliefs. What do you believe in? If you believe only in money, you may become even more miserable. Finally, happiness also depends on your work and is influenced by family and friends. These are the things a person needs if they want to be happy. But remember, having happiness does not mean trying to chase after more and more things that satisfy you. As the author says, happy people are happy because they are able to find happiness in every situation, not because the situations they encounter are more satisfying than those of other people. Happiness means knowing contentment in desire while staying clear-minded, learning to remain calm before both success and failure, and pursuing hope through both perfection and imperfection. Now let us move on to sadness. In life, everyone goes through sad days. Some are criticized by their boss, some lose a pet, some become ill, and so on. All of these things hurt. But in the end, all sadness shares one common trait: loss. The loss of your boss's trust, the loss of a companion animal, the loss of physical ability, the loss of wealth, the loss of meaning in your own life. All of these are forms of loss, and loss makes us sad. We always prefer joy and fear sadness, but sadness exists to teach us how to avoid similar situations in the future. It makes you reflect on your actions, your mistakes, and your blind spots. It also awakens compassion in others, and in turn allows you to empathize with someone else when they are carrying pain in their heart. Sadness is not as frightening as we often believe, so do not let yourself lose balance because of it. If you remain submerged in pain, it can swallow your entire being. So, what should we do when sadness becomes too much? The first thing is to accept it. People with spiritual faith and a rich inner life are often very good at accepting and moving through sadness. They believe sadness is karma, cause and effect, a personal lesson, a path one must walk. When you hold that kind of belief, it becomes easier to change your perspective on pain, to accept it simply as an experience through which you can discover values, lessons, and deeper understanding. And from there, you begin to feel better. You can also share your sadness carefully with someone you trust. To share it carefully means not turning it into repeated complaint over and over again. After that, try to come out of it by redirecting your attention. Look back and ask yourself what activities you once loved, or what things you have always wanted to experience. Actively turn your focus toward those things. They can help you step out of pain. And if none of these methods help, then seek support from professionals or psychologists. The next emotion, one that I believe many people have but keep hidden, is shame. Shame is the painful feeling that you are inferior, inadequate, or looked down on by others. From an adult perspective, many of the shames children feel are unnecessary. Many young people think their parents are unattractive, poorly dressed, manual laborers, or riding old battered vehicles. And so they say things like, "Don't come pick me up in front of the school gate," or "Park over there and wait for me," and so on. And surely many people come to regret this when they grow older. So why do we feel shame? It is because we fail to align with 4 principles of fitting in with the people around us. The first principle is consistency. For example, everyone in class rides a scooter, but you do not. Your cheap motorbike, which is not very stylish, makes you stand out, and that difference can make some young people feel ashamed. The second principle is the lack of mutual support. In other words, when your selfish behavior is exposed in front of others, you feel ashamed. The book gives an example of students moving into a dormitory on the first day. Everyone shared the food they had brought from home, but one girl stayed behind in the dorm and ate a cake her family had prepared just for her while the others were out. Unfortunately, everyone returned just as she was eating it, and she felt deeply ashamed. The third principle concerns the body. Every adult has felt this at some point. During puberty, some feel ashamed because they mature too early, some because they mature too late, and some simply because they feel different. And the final thing that causes shame is pressure from competition. For example, Everyone else in your team has excellent work performance at the end of the month, but you do not. That can make you feel ashamed. Shame has a typical expression common to almost everyone: blushing, lowering the head, and drooping eyelids. Of course, shame has its own role, and every emotion that stays with us for years does so for a reason. The function of shame is to make others more tolerant of us. For example, if you are standing in line to pay, and suddenly your bag falls and everything scatters everywhere, then if you feel no shame at all, you might calmly and slowly pick everything up while the people behind you wait, and they would probably get annoyed with you. But if you show embarrassment, keep apologizing, and quickly clean things up, others will tend to sympathize with you. In that sense, shame helps us behave properly. But on the other hand, shame also has its darker side. For example, excessive shame can make you less liked or even socially excluded. A person, especially a teenager, who is always hunched over, head down, and painfully shy in social situations may gradually be pushed out by the group. Even worse, some people who were not originally insecure become victims forced to live in shame. A clear example is victims of sexual assault. This continues to place enormous pressure on many people because our inner dignity imposes certain standards on us. Even if society says clearly that you did nothing wrong and that you are the victim, your heart may still struggle to accept it. So, how do we manage shame so that it does not turn into negative energy inside us? First, express it. Whenever shame is spoken aloud, it loses some of its weight. The French writer Annie Ernaux, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2022, has a famous line: "The worst thing about shame is thinking that we are the only ones who feel it." In reality, when you feel ashamed, other people can usually sense it too. So gently turn shame into embarrassment. Embarrassment is lighter than shame. Shame can burrow deep inside you, but embarrassment can disappear with a smile. Also, when dealing with people who habitually try to humiliate you, the best thing to do is reduce your contact with them. Some immature people project their own fear and anger onto others, which is why they like to humiliate, make inappropriate jokes, or expose other people's weaknesses. When this happens, we should see through their emotions, feel some compassion for people like that, and give ourselves space instead of turning ourselves into victims of shame. And finally, look inward at your beliefs. Ask whether your standards for yourself are too high. If you want to transform inferiority into something transcendent, you can also look into Adler's famous psychological work on the meaning of life, which Better Version once shared and analyzed in depth to understand more clearly the feelings of inferiority and shame, and how they can be turned into extraordinary strength. Next comes the sixth emotion, envy. This book mainly analyzes envy as it appears in relationships between men and women, in love and marriage, what we commonly call jealousy in the romantic sense. Envy or jealousy appears when people feel that their relationship is being threatened at some level. It can also be a sign of insecurity. When this feeling flashes up inside you, it usually comes together with anger, fear, sadness, and sometimes even shame. It is a complicated and rather negative emotion, but it also has its own function. In primitive society, when food was scarce, jealousy helped people survive. If a husband felt no jealousy and allowed his wife to freely be with others, then he might end up raising a child who was not his. Or if a wife allowed her husband to be with many other women, she might not have enough to survive because he would also have to support other children. Even in modern society, where food is abundant, we still carry this emotional tendency within us. It serves to preserve a sense of exclusivity between people. Jealousy can also make us suffer. The three main signs of excessive jealousy are close monitoring, restricting the other person's contact with others, and putting them down. People with this kind of jealousy usually have very low emotional energy. So, how can we manage jealousy? Like every other emotion, the first thing we need to do is acknowledge it and face it in order to find a solution. Then ask yourself a few questions. Have you ever been hurt by a partner's betrayal? Were you ever wounded by deception within your family? Do you feel you are not important enough or not attractive enough to keep someone's heart for a long time? Where does this insecurity come from? Questions like these can make you reflect deeply. If jealousy continues to create trouble for you and for the other person, then it may be worth seeking guidance from a professional. Finally, you need to give the other person some personal space. When you take away someone's private space, the risk you fear does not actually decrease. Sometimes it grows even larger. Jealousy is a normal and natural emotion, although it can often make us feel diminished. It is still part of a healthy emotional life if we know how to manage it and face it properly. It can even add a little spice to life. Finally, let us come to the emotion people are always trying to avoid: fear. For adults, the things that commonly trigger fear include the following: animals such as insects, mice, and snakes. Some people are afraid of heights. Many faint at the sight of blood. Some are afraid of speaking in public, or of enclosed spaces such as elevators. Others are afraid of thunder, of water, and panic when floodwater rises to their chest or touches their nose, and so on. Why are we afraid of these things? Because all of them are linked to dangers rooted in primitive human life. They posed serious threats to human survival, and so humans developed fear toward them. But fear is not only an inborn emotion inherited from primitive life. Many fears are formed later on. For example, some fears come from culture, such as fear of ghosts. Some come from society. Children fearing parents, students fearing teachers, subordinates fearing superiors, and so on. These kinds of fear often arise from our need not to be cast out by society. Finally, people also have fears that come from mistaken beliefs in the mind. For example, fear born from a lack of security, fear of being betrayed by a partner, fear of scarcity, and so on. That is why many people try every possible way to control circumstances or fill the emptiness with material things. In the end, fear is an emotion that makes you uncomfortable and unhappy. You certainly do not want to live every day in fear. Some people even overreact simply because they are afraid. When fear turns into negative energy inside you, making you anxious and doubtful of yourself, then you need to find a way to manage it. So how do we manage fear? The first thing, which this book repeats many times, is to admit and express your fear. Do not try to hide it. When you are clearly afraid, be honest and tell others that you need help. Second, learn how to hold fear by preparing yourself and gathering as much information as possible. For example, if you are afraid of traveling alone to an unfamiliar place, then prepare every bit of information you can about the trip. When you know how you are going, where you will stay, what you will do, and so on, you will feel more at ease. Fear will no longer be able to block the stronger energy within you. Next, learn how to relax. When you are afraid, your heartbeat speeds up. In that moment, you can close your eyes and focus on your breathing, on each inhale and exhale, to ease the anxiety. Finally, face it. There are several important principles for confronting fear, and to sum them up, be brave and gradually expose yourself to what you fear in a controlled way. For example, if you are afraid of crowds, then actively challenge yourself by joining competitions and interacting with more people, starting with smaller events. If you are afraid of a certain animal, and I have seen many people who are afraid of cats, then begin by approaching cats slowly and within a situation you can control. So, these are the 7 emotions that accompany us throughout the journey of growing up. I believe you will recognize all 7 of them in your own life. Behind each of them, there is a cause. It may be that you are disappointed in life, dissatisfied with the present, worried about the future, unable to fit in with the people around you, or burdened by many other anxieties. Once you become aware of those deeper causes, you can say to your emotions, "I see you now." As long as you can bring them into the open, you will be able to face them more calmly instead of being ruled by them and allowing them to control your life. So, do not pay so much attention to time, circumstance, or other people that you force yourself to suppress your emotions. You can absolutely release your negative energy in a timely and healthy way so that each present moment becomes one in which you can live in harmony with your feelings, with yourself, and with others. To understand emotions, express emotions, and resolve emotions, this is the best way to calmly accept an imperfect self. Imperfection is the truest kind of perfection. I hope both you and I can learn to welcome every emotion with care, love ourselves fully, and move forward bravely. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you can watch my newest videos every week. Once again, thank you all, and see you in the next videos.